Hi, I'm Heidi Rader with the University of Alaska Cooperative Extension Service. I'm here today with Steve Masterman with the Alaska Fruit Trees. Behind him is his beautiful orchard that he started with his wife, Sarah Masterman, and he's going to show us around and tell us a little bit about how he got started growing fruit here in interior Alaska.
Yeah, thanks, Heidi. We got started back in 2007. I have a friend who bought some apple trees from Claire Lammers, and Claire has an orchard off of Chena Hot Springs Road, and I told my friend there's no way you can grow apples here, and he's like, no, you can grow apples here. So I thought, okay, I got to check into this. So I got a hold of Claire and went up to his orchard in late August 2007 and drove around the corner, and there was his orchard in full fruit, just beautiful trees laden with ripe apples, and just blew me away. He had plums up there and pears and a walnut tree and cherries and other things too. And so he agreed to show us how to graft. And so the next spring I went up there and grafted with Claire and spent a bunch of time up there with him, helping him with his orchard and picking his brain and learning as much as I could. And yeah, we started clearing land the next spring and planted a much bigger orchard than Sarah had originally thought we were going to plant. We had 70 trees in that orchard, and now that wasn't quite enough, so we cleared this lot and now have about 500 trees.
Wow, that's impressive. Well, great. Let's go check it out.
Yeah, all right, sounds good. The main part of our orchard is apples, and there's probably 450 apple trees in here. Just like in the nursery bed, they're planted with all of one variety on a row. And the way we planted them was with the earliest ripening ones at the bottom of the orchard and the latest ripening ones at the top of the orchard, because it's warmer up there and it's sunnier up there. And so thinking that that would help them ripen. And then when we do a U-pick, we'll be starting at the bottom, and we'll just kind of go row by row. And our other orchard is just kind of higgledy-piggledy.
Right.
And so then we have to flag each tree that's ripe, and it just gets more complicated for people. And also, if people want to have a particular apple, which some people do, we can tell them, okay, well, it's on row 6.
So this is primarily your U-pick orchard down here, and then still up top, is that where you're grafting and testing different varieties?
That's mostly up there. We are going to be putting in a small section of trees that we can graft test varieties onto. And we'll start doing that grafting here pretty soon. There's a section of pears right here. These are pear trees. This one here is Russian pear called Pamyat Gosenchenko. And it is just like the cherry that we looked at. It's leafing out all the way to the tip. And I don't know if it's going to have flowers on it this year, but it might. Some of these big fat buds are the flower buds on these little fruiting spurs.
Beautiful.
So yeah, there's a section of pears here. There's maybe 2 dozen pears. And then there's a section of plums at the top of the orchard. Again, about 2 dozen plums up there. Maybe a dozen varieties of plums and a dozen varieties of pears here. And there's 94 varieties of apples.
Oh, wow. It's incredible.
Okay, so this is a Siberian crabapple rootstock. We actually grew this one from seed. So it's been growing here for a couple years, 2 years, I think. Grew up to here the first year and up to here the second year. And I planted it out here last fall. And it's in a row of trailmen, so I'm going to graft a trailman apple on it. And so this is my Siamwood here. Collected
so this is all
week.
Siberian crabapple?
That's all Siberian crabapple, yeah.
And what variety? That's the variety?
Yeah, it's Malus baccata is its Latin name. And yeah, the common name is a Siberian crabapple.
And you said it was 2 years old?
Yes, this is 2 years old.
And so you're going to graft in place, but sometimes you do this in a inside.
Yeah,
potentially.
yeah. Usually we do it inside. If I were to plant this orchard again, I might do it like this. I might start with seeds, basically, because when you grow the seeds here, like this has gone through 2 winters, and it's just beautiful. It's leafing out right to the very tip. It's fully hardy. The 2 winters have taken out all of the weak ones, whereas when you buy rootstock, you buy Siberian crabapple rootstock, it's a seedling rootstock, and so you don't know what it was pollinated with. You don't know how hardy it is. And they don't all survive. You know, a third of them might die their first year.
So if you were to plant from seed, you would plant it in a
Plant
pot first, I
I would
imagine?
plant a row of these, a row of seed,
In your nursery?
yeah, and then let the weather sort them out. You know, the weak ones are not going to make it, and the strong ones are, and take the strong ones and plant them out, and then graft them up.
And cheaper than buying the rootstock, I guess?
Yeah, you buy a pound of Siberian crabapple seed will cost you $100, and it's probably got 40,000 seeds in it. And 40,000 little crabapples is going to cost you a lot of money. So yeah, it's a cheaper way to do it, and I think you get better quality rootstock. The rootstock that we grow from seed has much better actual roots than the ones that we get.
And you can harvest your own seed, right?
Yeah, we've started doing that from crabapple trees that are growing in really cold places. So we've got some seed growing up there from crabapples that are growing down by the river in Fairbanks and out in North Pole. And actually, we took some from George's Botanical Gardens, some of the crabapples there, and up at the Geophysical Institute, there's some that are growing in a parking lot that just got to be bulletproof because their roots are under concrete, and so they get super cold. So we're going to graft this up. I'm going to put one on each of these because then if one of them doesn't take, the other one will be there.
Okay.
And like I said, this is the Siam wood. It's trailman, came from one of these trees just probably on the weekend when Sarah and I were pruning them.
And it's soaking in water over here, so how long would it last?
No, it's kept in, we keep it in the root cellar.
Okay.
In a kind of a moist environment so it doesn't dry out. But if you keep it in a Ziploc bag in the fridge with a moist paper towel, it'll stay for a couple months anyway.
Okay.
So this is a grafting tool, and it cuts a V-shape cut. And so what we want to do is match up a piece of Siam wood that is about the same diameter, which is right here. And so we make a corresponding cut in here and shorten it down to 2 buds. And this is called parafilm. Maybe the trickiest part. And so it stretches, and you wrap it around and to pinch those 2 pieces together, the sides together, so that what you're trying to do is join the cambium layer on the rootstock with the cambium layer on the Siam wood. And the cambium layer is the layer that's right under the bark. It's that slippery layer under, like if you peel the bark on a willow or a spruce, you get that slippery layer.
And it looked like you wrapped it around quite a few times.
Yeah, just you want to make sure the cambium layer is touching as much as you can. And the cambium is it's kind of like the growth cells, like the stem cells for the tree, because the cambium layer grows the wood on the inside and the bark on the outside. And so if you get that hooked together, then you're in pretty good shape.
What did you just put on?
I put on this stuff.
Pruning sealer?
Pruning sealer. And
Okay.
it's just something to stop this stick from drying out.
Okay.
You want to keep the moisture in there until the graft has healed. Because if this dries out before the graft is healed, then it's going to die. And I left 2 buds on, one here, and eventually I will just keep one of them and I'll snip the other one off.
Okay.
So this one, I'm going to this side.
If you were to do that indoors, would you put it like in a kind of a moist situation?
No, we don't. We actually put them in our utility room after we graft them, because the graft, I guess it's kind of like a scar, and it builds this material called a callus, which is just like scar tissue. Mm-hmm. But the main thing about outdoor grafting is you really try to do it after the last frost.
How long does it usually take to heal?
A week maybe, 10 days. We usually leave them in the basement for about 10 days, and then we'll move them out. Right now they're up on the deck.
Do you ever use a knife instead of the grafting tool?
Yes, I do. And I do that when this is, if this is really small, this is not gonna work. It's gonna be too small for that. So now what I need to do is put a tag on there. So I write the variety on one side and the year on the other side.
Okay.
And the rootstock, or a letter to let me know what the rootstock is,
Okay.
on the other side.
How many types of rootstocks are you using?
Let's see, we have Bacarda. This is for apple. Mm-hmm. We have some Selkirk, we have Dolgo, and we have Renetka. But I won't use Renetka anymore because last winter we had some of our oldest trees that were grafted in 2008 on Renetka die because of the cold weather.
Last year?
Last winter, yep.
Oh, it wasn't
The
very
coldest-
cold.
Not this winter,
Oh,
but the one,
2 year.
one before,
Okay.
because it was the coldest we've.
When you're grafting, are you trying to get it straight up, or you'll just bend it how you need to after you see which
Yeah,
one?
you know, if this one turns out to be the one, then I can straighten it up.
With the tapinator?
Yeah, the tapinator. So that's the trailman. I don't have any more trailman to graft, so I don't need that anymore. But I'll take it away. So yes, to graft with a knife is different. So it's basically a cut like that, and then you make, it's called whip and tongue grafting. You make a slice along the branch to make it's like a Z shape or a lightning bolt. And then you take the other piece and you do the same thing. And then you fit the two together. And so you're trying to match the cambium layer all the way around the two pieces, and then I tape it up and cover it in wax. So this is probably how I'll do it in that nursery bed, because you don't have to roll around on the ground with a tool.
Wow. Very cool.
So that's it.
Well, thank you.
So this is our nursery bed, and this is where we store over winter and in the summer too, I guess, but all the plants that voles will eat.
Oh.
And so that's what this fence is for. It's a vole fence.
Oh, okay.
And so when we close it up in the winter, we put a piece of hard red cloth across here, pile dirt up, and so the voles can't get in, because if they did, they would eat all of this,
Oh.
and then we would have nothing left.
Does it go into the ground all the way around?
It does. It goes about 6 inches into the ground, and so far it's worked.
Great.
We do have to keep the snow trampled down around it in the winter, because otherwise if the snow gets too tall, they'll go over the top.
Okay.
But in here, on this side, it's pretty much all apples. And on this side, there's apples and plums and pears and cherries.
Okay.
And because the voles eat all of those.
How old are most of these trees?
The ones with stakes were grafted last year, and the ones without stakes I'm going to graft here starting probably tomorrow.
Okay.
And so ideally we would have older trees, but we have so far sold everything that we grafted, and so we don't, or have not been able to build up an inventory of older trees. Because people always want, they call us up and they say, do you have any 5-year-old Norlands? It's like, no, we have nothing that's 5 years old, because it just doesn't stay. People just buy it, it's gone. So hopefully by doing what we're doing now, we'll build up an inventory of some older trees.
Nice.
Yeah.
Versus before, were you growing in pots or?
We had them in pots, yes, and we had to put them in the ground every fall, and then take them back out of the ground every spring, and again protect them from voles in the wintertime.
So this is a little more efficient method.
It's a lot more efficient, yeah. And so you can see the ground cover there, the fabric, a weed barrier, and to reduce the amount of weeds. Well, I mean, we can walk through it.
Okay. So, do you do much pruning when they're 1 to 2 years old?
Well,
or?
we should do a little bit in here. Generally haven't on these guys, but I think we should, because they'll grow better shape, and they'll put the energy into growing where you want them to grow instead of where you don't want them to grow.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Just a matter of time constraints with
Yeah.
all that you have going on.
This. And so these guys, yeah, we stake them up to protect them from the snow. And then these ones that are unstaked are the ones that we'll graft here. And we'll do some of that out there where there's some roots planted that need to be grafted.
Great.
And they're all by variety. So
each row is
well, not each row is a different variety, but if all of the same variety are in a row. And so you can see on the stakes, they're generally alphabetical too. And so it just helps us how many Prairie Suns do we have left, and go to the Prairie Sun row and look.
And easy to keep track of labels, because I'm sure labeling the trees is tough.
Yeah, that's a constant battle.
Use these metal tags usually?
Yeah, the metal ones, they're pretty good. They because you indent them, then it survives the weather, survives the sun. If you use a marker on those plastic ones, it fades away.
Right.
And so these will last quite a while. There's some tags up at Claire's that have been there for over 30 years, and they're still legible.
Okay. And then when you go to dig them up, the roots come out pretty easy, this close together?
They do. Yeah, they're not, because they haven't been here very long. When we really get our act together, we'll be planting these in fabric pots in the ground. And then we'll just be able to pull the fabric pot out.
One less step there.
Yeah, but we didn't quite have our act together last fall when we put these roots in.
But you can put more in space-wise, it seems like, if you don't have the fabric pots.
No.
It'd just be a small
Well, they'd
pot.
be, we'd probably put them in 2-gallon. And so they'd be about 9 inches in diameter.
Okay.
So, and these are spaced about that far apart. Some of them are closer.
And is that better than burying the plastic pot, which could break apart?
Well, the plastic pots, you need to water.
Oh, okay.
Whereas the fabric pots, the moisture will come through the fabric, and you don't need to water them. And so that's a whole level right there.
Great.
Okay, so we're going to prune this tree right here. It's an Alma Sweet is the variety, and it should have a tag on it that says how old it is. It was grafted in 2019, and it is on a Selkirk rootstock. So that's the tree, and Yeah, we're going to prune it, and the standard pruning tool is a pair of pruning shears.
So this tree is 5, 6 years old?
It's 6 years old.
Okay.
Yeah, it's 6 years old.
And so when do you start pruning? Like how old of a tree would you start pruning?
We prune them immediately, basically.
Okay.
So when you graft them, they start off as a piece of scion that's about that long with 2 buds on it. And as soon as it starts growing, you take one of the buds off. So you started pruning it right then, and that single bud becomes the trunk. And then when it gets to be about maybe waist high, you cut the top off, and that stimulates branching, and you cut the top off above the area you want the first branches to be. And so that's usually at the end of the first year we'll do that, and maybe it's the second year we do that. But you can see, if you look around here, you'll see trees that are just basically a stick with the top cut off. It's called a whip. And then it branches, and then from there on out, every year you have to prune it. So this one will have been pruned before. You can see places on it where branches have been removed because they were not in advantageous places, or there was too many branches. So the basic idea with pruning is you're shaping the tree for fruit production, and what you want to do is create a tree that the light can penetrate into and get all the way through the tree so it can ripen the fruit throughout the whole volume of the tree. And you also want to shape the tree so that it doesn't get too tall, because if it gets too tall, you can't pick the fruit. And for our purposes, that means, you know, if I can't reach it, then it's too tall. And there's no point from a U-pick standpoint in having fruit that's 15 feet up in the air, because we're not going to have people go up on ladders.
Yeah.
So we want them to be fairly short and fairly sturdy and not very dense, and have and occupy the space that they have available. So it's halfway to the next tree. So you want it to go out flatter versus more upright.
Okay.
And yeah, flatter branches fruit more than upright branches.
What angle are you looking for? Do you want a certain angle of the
Yeah,
branches
so
coming up?
what you want is maybe 60-degree angle in here between the branch and the trunk. 45 to 60 is considered optimal. If it's too tight an angle, like if this was growing up like this, then when the branch and the trunk grow, they pinch the bark in between, and that becomes a weak spot.
So this one might be a bit narrow there.
It's not bad.
Okay.
It's not bad. And really you assess whether it's got a nice collar of bark where
Okay.
it comes out of the trunk. In this case it does.
Okay.
And so another part of pruning is called training. And so if a branch is too tight, like this one's pretty tight, we could put something in here to pull this branch out or push this branch out. And so that might be a weight. We could hang a weight on the branch, or put a stick in here and just push them apart, or a piece of wire. And actually we've got the wire right there. So
You would tie it to the neighboring branch?
you can.
Okay.
You can tie it to the ground, you can tie it to the trunk, you could put a stake in here and tie it to a stake. You can
Okay.
do
Lots of
whatever you
options.
want, as long as you know the branch is in the position you want when the new ring of wood grows around the branch. And once that new ring of wood is there, the support is no longer necessary, because it will be kind of locked into that position.
Okay.
So one of the things we do is to clean up pruning equipment with alcohol between every tree, just in case there's any diseases or infections that we don't want to transmit from tree to tree. So the first thing I tend to do is remove things that are growing into the middle of the tree. So in this case, I'm going to take this one off. And I'm not taking it right back to the branch, because if you leave these things kind of short little stubs, they will eventually turn into fruiting spurs. And so by doing this, you're creating places where it's fruiting kind of in here, and as we remove the volume of branches and leaves, the light can get in to the fruit right there.
Okay.
So because this tree tends to go straight up, I want to push its growth outwards. And so you can do that by cutting off, say I wanted to do this here, you can cut off to a bud that's growing in the direction, pointing in the direction you want the branch to grow. So if I cut this branch off right here, it'll grow this way from this bud. So that's one way you can do that. Another way you can do that is if you've got a branch that's growing outward in the right direction, you can take the rest of it off, and now this will grow. So you're promoting all of that energy into a branch that's growing this way, and then clip it to a bud that's growing in the direction you want.
I don't quite get what you're saying with that.
So, well, look at this one. So there's 3 branches here, right? This one is growing out more,
Okay.
and these 2 are growing up more.
Oh, I see.
And so if we want the tree to get wider, and this is the one that we want to promote the growth in.
Oh, right. You don't want the vertical
You don't want the
growth
vertical
as much.
And so we'll take that one off.
It's a lot of pruning.
Yeah. You know, people are, I think, reluctant to prune that much, right? And so something else that is going on here is you have 2 branches, one on top of each other. Eventually one of those will come out, but probably not right now. So I'm shortening the branches a little bit to make them sturdier
Okay.
and to cut right above a bud that is in the direction I want it to go.
And
We
what
have-
if you don't cut right above a bud? What's going to happen? You may not know which direction. Like, say if you would have cut it here, it may have gone down too much, or.
So if I cut here, this is going to be the last bud, and it's going to grow straight up.
Oh.
And if I cut it here, it's going to grow this direction.
Okay, so this will grow
This
that
will
way.
go this way. Yep. Just like the direction it's pointing, it'll grow out again.
Oh,
And
okay,
so,
so you
by
don't wanna-
making these cuts, I'm continually forcing the tree to grow out,
So you don't want it you don't want to cut right by a bud that's
pointing in.
pointing
yeah,
up. Okay.
Pointing up.
All right.
And then there's just, I'm going to take this off because that little thing died. And then, these are, there's probably too many here, but they're small. And so I'm going to leave most of them on. I'm going to take this one off because it's way too tight an angle.
And do you want this one here to continue giving the tree height?
Yeah.
But most other vertical branches you want to remove.
Right. So this tree has got what they call a central leader, which is this, right? And we can leave this on. I left it on right now. So it will continue to grow up and put out more branches, and then we'll have, a fuller volume of tree. If we wanted, we could cut this off right here, and then it would be more of a vase or a bowl-shaped tree, and that's called an open center tree. And there's pluses and minuses to both. We have both styles of tree out here. This one's obviously a central leader, but right over there, there's one that you can see it doesn't have a center. It's just starting to form that bowl.
Yeah.
And for a kind of operation that we have, that's a really nice shape because it means it takes a lot of space and it's always going to be fairly low. So then another part of, like we talked about, is training these things to make a nice angle. And that's where the wire comes in. You can use different things to do this, but we started doing this year, so we'll see how it works. But you basically make a limb spreader by bending the wire. And so you put it on there and figure out what the right length is.
Have a healthy bird population out here, it sounds like.
Yeah, we have a lot of robins. They really like the honeyberries.
Is that their favorite?
Yeah, they don't get on the cherries, but they do get on the honeyberries.
I've had robins starting to pull out my plants from the garden.
Oh,
the last
really?
couple of years.
So this guy's being problematic. But there we go.
Nice.
And we'll just leave that on for the summer, basically. And once this branch has grown a ring of wood, its new annual growth ring, then it will be set in that position, and we can take that out, and it'll be set for forever. So, you know, what we have here is 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 branches, which is probably still too many, but they're at a good height, and that's going to be the framework for this tree for, who knows, next 40, 50 years.
And you said initially when it was 2 years old, you cut it off when it reached your waist high?
Yeah, so actually you can see
top,
it.
cut
You can
the
see it right
central
here.
leader?
I cut it
Okay.
right there. And it put out, typically they'll branch in about a foot or 18 inches below where you cut it. So by cutting it here at waist height, I cut it at 3 feet, which means it's going to have a bunch of branches between 2 and 3 feet.
And then it continued to grow
Yeah,
the leader?
it put out the new leader.
Did you cut like above a bud that was...
Yeah, I must have cut above this bud that was growing in that direction.
But if you wanted the vase shape and you cut it here, you would just continue to prune the central leader?
Yeah, the tree reacts differently if you're cutting in last year's wood, which is this, like this branch. If you cut this branch, it will invigorate these buds here, and they will grow more vigorously, and you'll get nice growth out here. But if you cut in older wood, like this has got, you can see the rings in there, there's 2 or 3 of them. That's called a heading cut, and that retards the growth, and it will push more of the, obviously there's no branch there anymore, so it can't grow anymore, but it slows down growth. And so if you want to cut and retard growth on this, if you cut it off now, you'd be cutting off, well, this was last year's growth, this was the year before, and that was the year before. So this is at least 3-year-old wood here. And that's called a heading cut, and it slows down the upward growth of the tree. And so you can kind of control the growth rate of the tree by where you cut.
Wow.
I don't know if I explained that very well
No,
or not.
I think you did. It's just more complicated than I knew.
And then this is called scion wood. So this is what we use for
So
grafting.
you can sell this.
Yeah, or we can use it.
Okay.
And so, you know, when we graft, we take 2 buds. So there's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, then it's getting kind of skinny. So you can see we can graft 7 trees out of this.
Wow.
And there's another 7, and there's 100 trees laying right there. So,
All right.
but what we do with it now, if we don't need it, we chip it up.
Do you use it as mulch in the orchard afterwards?
Yeah.
Okay.
I mean, this tree is made out of that,
Okay.
right?
You don't have to worry about disease. All your trees
No,
are
I mean, if I
fairly
see
disease-free,
anything,
then you wouldn't mulch.
then I
with it.
don't mulch it. Yeah, I burn it.
Okay.
Yep.
Great.
So that's that tree.
Well, thanks for showing
Yeah.
us that.
Yeah, I think people get really shocked by how much you take off, you know?
Well, you can certainly cut the wrong things, it sounds like. So
You
you
can.
can mess it up.
You can mess it up, but, you know, they grow.
Yeah.
So it's not like the end of the world. The other thing about pruning is we're dormant pruning right now when the tree is dormant. And so part of pruning is you have to think about the nutrients in the tree, where they are when you're doing what you're doing. And so right now the nutrients are mostly in the roots. The tree stored nutrients in the roots in the fall, and then they come back out in the spring. And so we've removed a fair amount of this tree, but yet those nutrients are all still in the roots.
Right.
And so when they come out, there's more nutrients for what is left. And so dormant grafting, which we just did, tends to invigorate the tree. But if you wait until the tree is leafed out and flowered, and then you prune, then you're taking those nutrients out of the system and depleting the system, and it won't have those branches and those leaves to put nutrients back in the fall. And so that really slows down the tree.
Yeah,
we do some of that because we have some very vigorous trees that need to be slowed down.
yeah, that's a really helpful way to think about it.
Yeah, it's a nutrient balance thing. It's like when you move a tree, you're going to chop off a whole bunch of roots. And so you should chop off a whole bunch of the top to match what you just did to the roots, so that the thing is in balance still when you move it.
All right.
This is the tree this is a whip. And this one is Breaky, varieties Breaky. It was grafted in 2021, so it's 4 years old.
And when did you chop
This
it?
spring.
Oh, okay.
And you can see I cut off other stuff.
Okay.
It was cut here at one point. And the idea is just to get it to branch, like right here, to get that
Okay, so
shape.
this branch was too low.
Yeah, anything below knee high, basically I cut off.
Okay.
Because the snow will rip them off,
Okay.
or can rip them off.
So other advice you might get from the lower 48 may not cut them off below the knee necessarily, or
Right, if you don't have the snow depth, then you don't need to cut them off.
you would just still cut this.
Yeah, because you want branches down low. Otherwise, if you don't get branches out up here, then your first apples are going to be, almost as high as you can reach.
Okay.
And so if you want, what's it called? I forget the term for it, but there's a name where you're growing the fruit in the push in an area you can reach, right?
Yeah. Makes sense.
And so you want the fruit to be, the lowest fruit to kind of be an easy picking height,
Yeah.
waist height, and the
Okay.
tallest fruit is up here.
Okay. Makes sense. We're here today at the Alaska Tree Fruit Orchard. I'm here with Sarah Masterman, one of the owners of the orchard. It's early June, and we're going to talk about the tree fruits flowering and pollination and tree care at this time of year. So, Sarah, can you tell us a little bit about flowering timing and what you're hoping for with pollination with your different types of trees, apples, pears, plums?
All these trees need a partner. Like they're not self-fertile. Or for the most part, the apples cannot get pollen from the same variety and be pollinated. They need pollen from a different variety. And for the apples, that really mostly hasn't been a problem because we have so many apples and the flowering times overlap and the pollinators seem to really like them anyway. So we typically get a lot of fruit set on the apples, but for plums and pears, we don't really know what's going on. We just know we don't get as good pollination. It may be that they're picky about what pollen they will accept, and maybe some varieties of plums are too closely related and they don't see it as being cross-pollination, or maybe they're not closely related enough and they don't see it as reasonable pollen. And the pears, we mostly haven't had a lot of varieties flowering at the same time, but we have a large plum tree over there, early gold, and it's flowered a lot of times, and we've never gotten a plum. And it's a beautiful tree, and it's flowered at the same time as other pears, sorry. So we just don't know exactly what's going on with that. So this year we have more pears flowering And a friend put his beehives down in our other orchard, so we're hoping, crossing our fingers, that we will get pears this year.
Nice. And so each year, are you out here with your notebook recording which apple trees are open at which time and the length of flowering?
I don't know, this is maybe my 4th or 5th year of recording when each thing opens, and just when people come to buy trees, they need to know that these trees are going to have their flowers open at the same time so that they will get cross-pollination. Also, it's just kind of interesting to see when things flower. And I've been curious with the honeyberries to see, my hunch, and I think it's playing out, is that because our season is so short, things that don't overlap in their flowering time, other places do overlap here.
Oh, that's
because
interesting.
everything's kind of compressed because of this short season.
Another thing we talked a little bit about is the number of flowers per cluster and per branch. At this point, are you going to remove flowers? Are you waiting for them to set fruit before you remove some of the flowers? And how many will you remove?
This is Claire 4, and Claire 4 produces a fairly large apple. So on a tree like this, we want 1 apple per 6 inches of branch. So if you look at this here, you can see if each of these flowers became an apple, it would be way, way, way too much. So we do go ahead and start removing flowers, although we will do more once it's little apples. If we tend to, like at this time of year, we might be more removing whole clusters, like this is at the bottom of the branch, it's gonna be shaded, so these aren't gonna ripen as well. There's obviously plenty of blossoms here, so we might remove this. Later, when they've been pollinated, we'll go through and like choose the nicest looking apple from each cluster and keep just that one, and then also thin them down to about 1 apple per 6 inches of branch.
So would you recommend doing it at the flower stage or waiting until fruit set?
If you don't know that everything's going to be pollinated, obviously, if you remove flowers, and those are the ones that got pollinated, you've lost your fruit, right? So with the plums, we don't remove flowers.
And most homeowners who don't have a lot of trees
Right.
are probably not going to have as good a pollination as you. So.
Right. And part of the reason for removing flowers is just to spread all that thinning out over time. And if you only have a few trees, it's not going to be that hard to get everything thinned.
Okay.
Whereas for us, we have enough trees, it just can get to be a lot.
All at once to do
Yes,
it at the right
The
time.
downside of waiting for fruit set is that the tree is continually putting energy into those. So if you are removing them early, you're saving energy for the tree, for the apples that it does produce, for growing more leaves, for
Yeah.
all of that stuff.
Okay. What other kind of tree care are you doing early June, this time of year, early summer?
This is the time of year when we fertilize. We only fertilize like late May, early June, and then don't fertilize again. And we now are just fertilizing the trees that seem like they're not growing a lot, because we don't want too much growth. Seems like the trees are healthier when they don't grow too much. But this is the time of year when we fertilize. If you fertilize in July, there's the potential that the tree will get all those nutrients and start to really grow a lot, and then they won't be ready to shut down for winter.
Okay. And could you fertilize earlier than
Yes,
now as well?
yeah,
Anytime early spring?
Yes.
Okay.
And I know that actually Steve did sprinkle some out here, but then yesterday when we were walking around and looking at trees that looked like they, there's some trees we think, well, maybe give them another shot, a little bit more, just because they're not thriving, I guess, not growing a lot.
So a general rule of thumb for apples, pears, plums, I guess you're not as sure about those, but for apple, you would like 2 varieties for ideal pollination. Is that correct?
A minimum of 2, yeah,
Okay.
yeah. Yes,
That are flowering at the same time.
that are flowering at the same time. And then apples don't seem to be picky beyond that. Like if
Okay.
you've got two different varieties, or if you have a crab apple and an apple, you probably are set for pollination.
Okay.
It seems like. Again, because we've always had a lot of trees, we aren't as aware of what pollination problems there might be, I guess.
Yeah.
But yeah, it seems like apples aren't so picky, whereas plums and pears seem to be just more difficult.
And even if you have other apple trees in your neighborhood, that might be
Yeah,
sufficient too.
yeah, definitely. Because
Within
bees,
like what kind of radius do you think?
well, I mean, bees can fly a few miles, but obviously the likelihood of them hitting your tree and another tree diminishes the greater the distance. You know, if two trees are right next to each other, the bees are almost certainly going to carry pollen between them. If they're, you know, a few hundred yards apart, they're very, very likely to. If they're a couple miles apart, it just seems less likely.
Okay. Great. Do you have anything else to add about tree care at this time of year, or what you're watching for and recording?
I mean, we've done our pruning now, for the most part. We've done our shaping. We're keeping things mowed so that we don't get voles coming in and eating the bark. And then we're doing a lot of like planting and moving and stuff like that, but that's not sort of regular tree care kind of stuff. Oh, the other thing is I've been, especially on the younger trees, walking through the orchard and removing suckers, because it seems like this time of year is when you see a lot of suckers coming up from the roots that will compete against the tree.
And you're just clipping those?
Mostly they're small and you can just rip them off
Oh, okay.
or break them off, you know.
Okay, great.
Yeah, we try not to let them get to the size where you need to clip them.
Oh, okay. Well, what a beautiful time of year up here.
Yeah.
Thank you for sharing.
Yes, thank you for coming.
Looks like you have irrigation for all of these trees, so once they are larger, then you start irrigating?
Yeah, there's irrigation. Every tree's got an emitter next to it. We've actually not been watering as much as we used to. And water is an interesting thing. Water and fertilizer are interesting things because obviously they make the trees grow. And that seems like, well, you want the trees to grow, but you want the trees to grow just the right amount. So like this one grew, this grew this branch last year and grew this last year. So it grew, you know, maybe a foot last year. This one, 16 inches. And that's okay. But if they grow 3 or 4 feet, which they will do if you give them lots of water and lots of food, then that may not be hardened off by wintertime. And then you'll get a lot of dieback. And it also means that the tree gets really long, slender branches.
That you just have to prune?
That you have to prune back anyway, and they're not good for fruiting because they're too long and weak. And so it seems better to grow a tree more slowly
Okay.
and grow it more sturdily. And
Particularly in Alaska, would you say?
I think so, yeah, because we don't know how the fall is going to be. We don't know how the winter's going to be.
And we've got the snow load and...
Yeah, and the snow does rip branches off. So yeah, we've cut back on the water and cut back on the food so that we started growing them slower.
Okay. But it's there in case it doesn't rain for like a month or
Right.
something.
Yeah, and I think once the trees get bigger or more mature and are in their fruiting phase, then we can turn the water back on because
okay.
apples are mostly water, so they'll grow bigger fruit if they got more water.
So are you watering more in your older,
Yeah,
for your older trees?
Yeah, we do water that more. And this we turned off probably the end of June last year. So we watered for latter part of May and June and then no more. And we haven't turned it on yet, but we probably will here pretty soon.
Okay.
Partly because we haven't turned the power on yet.
Okay. Great.
So they do have an up and a down.
Oh,
So they go on pretty easily.
would this protect them from moose too?
Well, it would, in this case, it would protect this one because it's completely inside it. So yeah, we put them on in the fall, we take them off in the spring. And that's because if you leave them on, the tree will basically grow into this and it will girdle the tree.
Okay.
And we've seen places where it has killed the tree. So
And that's for the voles and the rabbits and
yeah, we've had goats and cows and sheep and dogs have killed trees, and Sarah started I think she's got a part of the website where it's tree killing stories.
Oh.
And the funniest one that she's gotten so far was that somebody sent the kid out to collect a marshmallow stick.
Oh no.
Yeah, and there was a nice straight apple tree growing out there and snipped it right off. As you can see, we have a fence, and the fence is really for moose. It's 7.5 feet tall, has a 2x4 rough cut rail at the top, which I was told will help provide a visual barrier for the moose. So something that's kind of at eye level or a little above eye level that might deter them from wanting to jump it because they might not want to get hurt if it looks substantial enough. And then the wire is 6 feet tall. It's rabbit and deer wire, so it's closest space wires at the bottom, and then they get wider as you go up, which probably works okay in the summer for keeping rabbits out, but when we get the snow on the ground, rabbits could come through. And then the posts are 10-foot 4x4s, 2.5 feet in the ground.
Okay.
Yeah.
It's a big key when you have an orchard is setting up your moose fence, right?
Yeah, because they will, if they got in here, they would really enjoy it. And we wouldn't. And
Yeah.
It's rather, there's plenty of willow out there for them to eat. They don't need to be dining on apple.
Your larger trees are a little safer from moose damage.
They are, yeah. I don't think, some of them, yeah, they'd still damage like a tree, like this one behind you. They would, they'd eat as much of it as they could, but they'd probably rip off branches in the process of eating the part that they ate.
Yeah.
So while they might not completely eat it, they'd really damage it.
Yeah. Well, I was
Yeah.
thinking your much larger
The
trees up
larger
in your
ones. Yeah, that might
test
be okay.
orchard. Yeah.
Yeah,
You
at
don't
least
want to see.
No, rather
Okay.
not.
Yeah.
This is for the weed whacker. It will work for voles too. They can't get through it, but it's weed whacker proof, and so it's me proof. I've killed more than trees than I'd like to admit with the weed whacker. No matter how careful you are, you're going to get too close and get sucked in, and before you know it, it's girdled, and then you're done. But we do put other protection on the trees, and we have some of that down there I can show you.
So this time of year when the apples are in fruit, what kind of pest issues do you have?
Not this time of year. In the spring, I think it's a leaf rolling caterpillar that gets on the really little apples and will take a bite out of them. And so you see these little holes. They don't really do too much damage, and they grow out. I don't know if we can see any on these guys, but they leave little scars on the outside of the apples. But the birds don't get on them. There's no insects. We don't have the same insect issues they have in the lower 48, so we don't need to spray for any of that stuff.
So an early frost, how does that affect your harvest?
Not really at all. It depends how hard the frost is. So I think apples start to freeze at around 26 degrees.
Oh.
And the temperature at which they freeze is going to depend on the sugar content. So the higher the sugar content, the lower the freezing point.
Okay.
And so, yeah, 26, 25, 24. If it gets in the low 20s or the teens, then yeah, you've got problems. But they'll survive. Our typical frosts here are 31, 30 degrees until latter part of September and October.
Well, it was a pretty mild winter last winter. Mm-hmm. So that should help.
Yeah, we have a temperature monitoring device on the power pole over there, and it says it got down to minus 26.6 last winter was our winter low, which is really nothing.
That's nothing compared to what it used to be.
Yeah, we had 45 below the winter before. Uh-huh. Yeah, which did some damage.
Yeah.
But the other thing about the hardiness is that seems to be really important is the fall.
How gradual it is.
How gradual it is and how long it is. And so these plants, you know, they're trying to get ready for winter. They recognize the change in daylight and they start getting ready. But if winter comes really fast and they're not ready, then you'll see dieback the following year. And depending on how they go into winter, you see more and more.
Okay.
And the fall before last, we had a really early end of summer, I guess. And so they went into winter fully leafed out, green leaves, and it was cold. It was 45 below. Mm-hmm. And so we had quite a bit of dieback, particularly on the cherries. But when we go look at them, you'll see that they're totally regrown.
Okay.
So it's not a problem. They'll take a little bit.
All right. So what kind of chores do you have to put the trees to bed for the winter? Do you have anything you need to do?
Yeah, like I said with the cherries, we'll put spiral tree guards on these things to protect them from voles. And then we'll go through and do a little bit of pruning to shorten limbs on some of these ones that have grown quite a bit. Yeah, we'll shorten the limbs to stop them getting overloaded with snow. And so usually that's when they're really little. We stake them and tie them to the stakes so that they don't get snapped off by the snow. And then when they get bigger, we'll pull those stakes out, and if they don't need a stake, then we won't.
If it's
put one
growing
in.
straight.
If it's growing straight, yeah. Like this one must have had an issue that it was, maybe the weight of the fruit was causing it to lean over, and we needed to give it some support.
Okay.
Yeah. So not much for the cold. We don't put anything down on the ground. We don't wrap them. They have to be able to take it.
You've got your fence. You don't have to wrap them in burlap.
Nope. The fence keeps the moose out, at least so far.
Great.
And we do mow. I like to keep this short, like the ground cover short for the winter to provide less vole habitat. And we did notice that this spring that right now we're in the area that's clover, and it didn't have any vole tracks in it, whereas the grass did. And I think maybe the grass holds the snow up and creates that little gap there where they can make their tunnels and wander all over the place. Whereas with the clover, I think maybe it goes right down to the ground.
Interesting.
And so there's no space for them to wander around in.
And then during the winter, you do come out during the winter to care for the trees as well.
Yeah, I do. Like this tree's got branches that are kind of droopy, and so the snow will get on these and push them down. And then if that gets trapped in the snow, in the springtime when the snow settles, it'll rip that branch off. And so, you can see we don't have any branches on this one below waist height, and none of our trees will leave branches on below knee height.
Because of that reason. Okay.
Yeah, they get ripped off. And so then in the wintertime, I come out and I free these branches. And lift them out of the snow.
And you also shake the snow off after a big storm.
Yeah.
And you're spreading coffee grounds too to speed the snow melting, is that true?
Right, in the springtime, we spread coffee grounds. I put out, I think, 4 trash cans with the coffee grounds this spring, just shaking it on the snow, and it probably took 2 weeks off the time from the start of the melt to when it's bare ground. Like this,
nice.
Where we put the coffee grounds was bare 2 weeks before the places that didn't have coffee grounds.
And you're adding some nitrogen keeping the
Yeah.
voles away potentially.
Yeah, and so these guys, the only food they've had this year, or the only food we've added is coffee grounds and wood chips.
Awesome.
And then obviously all the cover crops, which as you can see have been, the trees have been hosed down by the mower here. Yep.
Well, thank you. These are just incredible.
Yeah, nice apples.
Yep.
You want to go see some more?
Sure.
Okay.
So you've got quite a few apples maturing here. Looks like some of them are getting close to ripen. What kind of harvest season are you looking at for apples?
Well, it's going to start on Saturday. We have our first apples are ready to pick right now. There's a couple of early varieties. One's called Claire 4, and it's usually our first one that's ready. And then we have another one that was bred by Claire Lammers called Claire 10 that's ready to pick. And I think our Parklands are ready to pick. And then usually September Ruby, and they're late September.
And I'll just add it's late August, August 22nd.
It's August 22nd, yeah. Yeah, so it's a little bit earlier than some years. And then we'll be picking apples pretty much all the way through September. Somebody had called this variety orange pumpkin,
Orange pumpkin.
and so that's what we started to call it. And you know, this is a 10-year-old tree, and they've been growing up at Claire since the early 90s. So they've been in Fairbanks for 35 years, and it's a great eating apple. It ripens late September, but it actually stores pretty well as well. So despite being a fairly low density apple, it stores well, and it's got good juice for making hard cider as well.
Nice.
So yeah, this we have a whole row, and then started to fill in here with orange pumpkin as well.
And this is your largest apple?
It's one of the largest.
That's incredible.
Yeah,
how
for
big it
sure.
is.
The other one that's really large, we don't have any fruiting here, but it's called PF21.
Okay.
And they get up to close to 5 inches in diameter. So they'll seriously get
Wow.
this big around.
That's incredible.
And they're more of a sauce / pie apple than these ones,
Yeah.
which are good eating apples.
So what variety is this here?
This is higher 12. And it doesn't get red like the other apples we were looking at. It's just a green apple, stays green, and they're really a sauce apple. They're not especially great for eating fresh. They are super hardy. They will grow downtown Fairbanks. But they don't, like I said, they don't get red. They're just a green apple. And so yeah, we have some apples that turn dark purple when they're ripe, but these just stay green. They get a little yellow actually when they're riper.
And you think these are close to being ripe?
No, these have got another 3 weeks yet.
Okay.
Yeah, it's going to be mid September.
All right. How does the frost affect them?
Frost is not too much of a problem there because of the sugar and the acid content of the apples. They'll actually take a pretty hard frost before they freeze. So anything a frost down to 25 degrees is not going to freeze the apples.
Okay.
It takes a frost down in the low to mid 20s before the apples will freeze.
But they'll probably stop ripening if it's freezing temperature.
Yeah, they stop ripening. Yeah, when the weather cools down, yeah, the biological processes slow down and they stop ripening. But you know, we can still have pretty nice days through September.
In terms of like a harvest period, how long are the harvest periods for the apples? They probably vary across variety too.
You know, a variety will be good on the tree probably for 10 days. something like that, and then they start to get overripe, even on the tree. They continue to ripen, so you want to pick them in that window. And so we organized our orchard by ripening time. So theoretically, all the early apples are down on the bottom, and then the late apples are at the top, and the ones in the middle are in the middle. And so hopefully we can pick sort of row by row as the season progresses.
And how do you tell when they're ripe?
So there's a couple ways. Obviously you can eat one and see how it looks. You can cut into one and see if the seeds are starting to turn brown. That's another sign of ripening. And then the third way is to smell them. And they give off an apple aroma when they're ripening. And
Okay.
we'll see that in the other orchard. You'll be able to smell the ripening apples in there.
Okay. And I see some that are red around here, so that is maybe a sign that those ones are.
Yeah,
Right.
well, they get redder, well, on the sunny side of the apple. So,
Okay.
yeah, you can see the ones behind us on that tree there, and we'll see other ones as we move around that are redder. That's definitely a sign of ripening.
And then will some not turn red?
Yeah, no, some of them are green apples from start to finish.
Okay.
Like the higher varieties, higher 12 and higher 20, are green all the time. And then other ones like Kerr turn a deep purple when they're ready,
Beautiful.
ripe. Yeah.
Nice. So what's the proper way to harvest an apple?
Well, so before I show you that, you need to understand that the apples grow on fruiting spurs. And so there's a little spur sticking out of the branch here that the apple's growing off of. And so you want to take the apple, but leave the fruiting spur. And like this one has got a
Okay.
fruiting spur here. So to pick the apple, it's just a lift.
Okay.
You just lift it off. You don't pull it off, you lift it off.
Okay.
And this one probably isn't fully ripe because it's still looks a little green on the backside. And the sunny side, the red side, is always the sweeter side of the apple. So we'll eat that part. So just for demonstration purposes, you can see the seeds are starting to turn brown. Not all the way brown, but that's a sign that it's pretty close to ripe. So this is Parkland.
Yum.
Not bad.
A little sour.
A little sour. Yeah, maybe not quite ripe. So yeah, so we go around and we'll try a bunch of different ones and see if they're ready to eat. This one's not quite ready yet. So maybe another week, maybe another 2 weeks, but we'll keep testing them. And it's just kind of enjoyable. Walk around
Sounds
the orchard,
fun.
take a chunk of apple, and if it's not any good, throw it over the fence.
I would eat it.
Yeah, so this is one of the earlier ones, so it's close. You can see behind this there's some other small red apples. So the bottom row is Trailman and Schaefer, and then it's Rescue and Patterson, and here's Parkland, and then Norland and Red Star and PF21, Westland, and so on up through the orchard. We have almost
Delicious.
100 varieties here.
Wow, that's incredible.
Yeah.
What's your favorite way to eat the apples, and are you able to store any of your apples?
Yeah, favorite ways. Well, you know, obviously walking around in the orchard, pick one and eat it. That's pretty fun right there. Apple pie, yeah, everybody loves apple pie. Dried apples are really good. So we do dry a lot of apples. We'll start drying them probably tonight because we get a lot of windfalls. So they just drop off the tree, and that starts to happen when a variety is ripening.
Okay.
So as soon as they're about ready to start picking, you'll see them fall onto the ground, and that's one of the ways that we judge whether they're ready
Yeah.
to pick.
Use a dehydrator to.
Yeah, we slice them. Sometimes we core them, sometimes we don't. The little ones we don't core. we just slice right through the core and dehydrate it that way. You have to, on the ends of the apples, if you're slicing them kind of, I don't know, along the apple, I don't know if it's along or across the apple, but across the core, you end up with those two ends that have skin all the way around them. And you have to slice the skin off the very outer part or the ends don't dry. And then, yeah, we just put them in Ziploc bags and eat them all winter long. They're just great, really great. And so it's interesting, some of the varieties are better for drying than others. I like Kerr and Trailman. Other people like different ones, but
And most of the varieties you're growing and that grow well in Alaska are not great storage varieties, is that right?
yeah, I think that's probably true. We've kept apples until Valentine's Day. They do degrade, and so they're not great. You know, they get kind of softer as time goes on, and they lose their flavor. But probably like these guys, we've had until early December, and they're still good. So that's a couple months of storage, and some of the other ones will go a couple months. Some of them won't last a week. You know, they just get
Wow.
they just go fast.
Even in the fridge?
Yeah,
Wow.
they just dry out and get rubbery, and they don't have. I don't know what it takes to be a storage apple, but some of them don't
Yeah.
have it.
So you've got U-pick for the apples. How do you sell the apples for the U-pick?
We sell them by the pound, and so we have containers that we know the weight of, and we let people pick into those containers. So when they get ready to, when they're done picking, we just weigh them and charge by the pound. And this year we're charging $4 a pound for the apples.
That's a steal.
Yeah, no, it seems people enjoy it. You know, we have people come back year after year, and they like to bring their kids out because it's a good family kind of fun thing to do. And grandparents bring their grandkids out. And we had a lady out last year who was in her 80s, and she had never picked an apple before.
Oh, wow.
And so she was just really excited to be able to actually take one off a tree.